That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. It's Tiki here,
And Jacob Wile too.
and welcome to the big spoiler cast for Aladdin 2019.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob. We're just gonna dive right into it. All right, you ready? You ready?
Oh
Just
yeah.
big spoilers everywhere, folks. So
Rub the, rub that
Jafar
lamp and
gets
wish for
turned into a genie at the end and is trapped in the lamp.
rub that lamp and wish for a
Aladdin does
spoiler
indeed
warning.
use the third wish to set genie free. The law has definitely changed so that Aladdin and Jasmine can get married by the end.
Yes.
I don't
Like
know. Any other big spoilers?
jams.
Jams, yes, jams. All right, and I think we covered it. All right.
A,
Uh,
boo, a,
Jacob,
boo,
final
a, boo,
thoughts?
a boo gets turned into an elephant.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Jacob?
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. That's the Aladdin spoiler cast. All right. No, just kidding. Just
final,
kidding.
final thought. Yes.
All right. In all seriousness, folks, we are here to talk about Aladdin specifically. Of course, you all know the general plot, and spoiler alert, they don't really do a hell of a lot to change the overall outcome of the plot. So, but mostly in the spoiler cast, we're going to be talking about various differences here and there. Things they adapted. Mostly, we're going to be focusing on the characters and the music in this spoiler cast specifically. So, with that in mind, Jacob, why don't you go ahead and give your thesis for the movie?
You mean like basically my overall thoughts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't need to go over the. I mean, we're obviously going to go over like the stuff they changed as we discuss this, but I mean, the overall plot basically remains the same, but I would definitely say the movie has a different kind of humor tone, like especially considering the different humor stylings of Will Smith and Robin Williams. I will say, I mean, but I will say it's like that definitely not that's definitely not a detriment in any way. It definitely makes it stand on its own in its own way. The plot remains pretty much the same, but that's kind of to be expected with some of these things. I mean,
I
they
mean, at
pretty
least
much.
it's not like Dumbo, where they go into like a weird, like steampunk Disneyland for the last half of it.
I can't say I've seen Dumbo, so I don't really know what you're talking about. And based on what you said, I really don't plan to.
Oh no, it's Dumbo. I'm so sad for baby Dumbo, and baby Dumbo has to reunite with his mother. All right, anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, so as I said, it's not so. Some parts you can definitely some parts they actually did change. I mean, like I said, the overall plot remains the same, but some of the elements remain different, which I can definitely say some of them are a welcome change. Others are kind of weird, but makes sense in the way they adapted the movie. Like there are some events that actually kind of happen out of order. But I
Right,
mean,
like for example, just to dive into it, right at the very beginning, Jasmine's already on the streets of Agrabah. We switch that up. We get one jump ahead with Jasmine in the mix in that song.
so yeah, like it's not exactly shot for shot or anything like that
Mhm.
either. So, but like I said, they changed enough elements to keep it interesting, but it overall remains the same. I mean, and for some people that could be good, for some people that could be bad. But I mean, I think it works just enough, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, you know me, I'm a big fan of the original movie, and not even using nostalgia for as a factor for that, I still think this movie's not nearly as good as the original. Still, that's still a pretty decent movie in its own right.
Okay. Yeah, Jacob, honest to God, I really do I've been thinking about this for the last day or so since I saw the film. I mean, is this film necessary? No, it's really not. I mean, it's probably even less necessary than something like The Jungle Book. But by the same token, I mean, this is not a high bar to reach here, right? We're talking movies that, for the most part, are kind of mediocre at best. Like at best, these movies have good set design and solid performances. Jacob, I gotta say, I think this movie has more going for it. I mean, there's definitely some flaws in there, and there's definitely some things that people are already making fun of that I kind of agree are kind of silly in this movie. But I mean, just going down the line here, it's like Will Smith brings it. I mean, ironically enough, I think that Will Smith is probably one of the better parts of the movie, if not the highlight of the movie, which of course everyone was freaking out about, like, like, oh, Will Smith isn't blue. Oh, Will Smith's blue. Oh my God. And now I feel like the people that were complaining about Will Smith are kind of eating their words a little bit. And is Jafar weak? Yeah, he's pretty weak, but just what this reminds me of, Jacob, and I'll give credit to Andre Meadows of Black Nerd Comedy for coming up with this comparison. It feels like a more big budget version of those like Wonderful World of Disney movies that we used to get in like the 90s, which were like these these movies that were like big budget TV productions that they might have been like a remake or they might have been like an original story. You remember that line of movies, Jacob?
Vaguely.
It was like somewhere like they did a Whitney Houston version of Cinderella where Whitney Houston, I believe, played the fairy godmother in Cinderella. It's stuff like that. So I gotta say, like, this movie in that regard, it's like it's a nice interpretation of the Aladdin story. It's definitely not, nothing is going to be as good as the original in any of these cases, except maybe Pete's Dragon. Pete's Dragon is probably a better movie than the original Disney Pete's Dragon. But
that one I can attest to as well.
right. But in most cases with these live action remakes, they're not going to be as good. But this one, I think, swings for the fences, and I think it gets more hits than misses. I feel like to me, it feels like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie mixed with a Disney musical. And that's kind of like an interesting combination. It's got kind of like that red-blooded adventure element of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie mixed with some of the big kind of like over-the-top qualities of a Disney musical. And honestly, I think with Guy Ritchie directing, he was a good person to bring that vision forward. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said, this movie wasn't necessary by any stretch of the imagination, but I really do think it probably came out about as well as it could have. I give it like a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10. And I truly think it's probably, with the exception of Mary Poppins Returns, if Mary Poppins Returns counts, which I don't think it should because obviously it's a sequel, not a remake. But with the exception of that, I do think that this is the best of the live action remakes that we've been getting. And this is like probably the overall top of the crop. It's either this or Jungle Book, and I think Jungle Book just had a little bit more corny writing in it than this did.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from on that.
I feel like this felt a little fresher than the Jungle Book.
Well, it had Will Smith, so it's definitely fresh.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I feel like the Will Smith factor like helped this elevate itself over the Jungle Book a little bit.
The whole Fresh Princeness.
All right. So I guess with that in mind, Jacob, do you want to go over the characters? Anything from Donovan or anyone else in the comments? I know Donovan's been posting a lot, so feel free to just kind of pick and choose the best of the best from him.
Well, something I was gonna say is like it's kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean meets like a Bollywood musical.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I dig that combination. I really do. Like, I don't know. It's like I had a good time with this movie. I don't know what to like. Honestly, it's like people like Manny and Aretha and Monkey kind of like. I don't want to say they wanted me to dislike this movie, but I feel like there was a certain expectation in the Disney fandom that this was going to be trash. And I mean, I don't know what to tell you people. It's like I said, I don't want to keep being a Iago style parrot through this whole conversation, but was it necessary? No. Was it well executed? Yes, definitely well executed.
All right, but going with what about Martin, he said he likes it. He said he likes how in the underwater part, Genie was begging Aladdin for the wish to be rescued. How he took like the clause and basically had him sign the contract, and like it kind of worked around what he perceives to be a plot hole.
Yeah, that was well handled for sure.
And
Also, one of the big things that I've been hearing criticized, just to get into that whole scene, is people have been criticizing the big slow-mo shot when Aladdin gets tossed into the ocean, tied to the chair. Like they have that big kind of like bullet time, like slow-mo speed up, and we do that again in One Jump Ahead. And I gotta tell you, Jacob, I'm fine with that just because it's Guy Ritchie's style.
I mean, what's the point of bringing aboard a director if they can't add like some of their own personal touches?
That's what I'm saying. It's like I don't get why people are pissed off about that, because it's like, to me, when I see stuff like that, is it a little out of place? Yeah, sure, maybe a little, but I embrace stuff like that because, of course, I am a big believer in the auteur theory when it comes to filmmaking, and I love when when auteur filmmakers, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not calling Guy Ritchie like, on the level of a Tarantino or a David Fincher or anything like that. But, Guy Ritchie does have his signature flair to him. And I do think this movie let him express that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree. I mean, he didn't. It's not like he overdid it either. It's like only appeared in
No, yeah, he really didn't. Yeah.
it only appeared in like in an like one or two action sequences, and whenever Jafar used his magic staff.
I mean, I would say it's there about as much, if not a little less, than the Raimi signature stuff is in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Which is to say, you can feel its presence, but it doesn't like overwhelm the movie or anything, and it doesn't take away from the source material.
I
And if
mean,
anything, it kind of works with the source material and the tone of it.
and
And I think his directing style is a big part of why you and I are both getting this Pirates of the Caribbean vibe.
I mean, at first it kind of looks like Aladdin's kind of smiling when at the
And
angle.
honestly, let's face it, this movie is better than like 90% of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Like, it's probably better than any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies outside of the first two.
Like I said, where I can see them coming from is it kind of looks like he's at first enjoying it because it looks like he's almost smiling from
Uh-huh.
when the slow mo starts. But I mean, at first that's what I thought he was doing when I actually first saw the trailer and they showed that. I was like, okay, why is he smiling about that? but I
I hear you.
but I mean, like I said, it's kind of weird they chose that in all places, but it kind of emphasized the drama of this scene, so I don't really have much of a problem with it.
Well, again, it's kind of like a Bollywood thing.
Kind of.
And to that degree, this might be one of the more ambitious. Like, I'm not going to straight up call this a Bollywood movie by any means, of course. Like, this is obviously not authentic Bollywood, but this might be one of the most ambitious, lifting of Bollywood style in any mainstream movie, just because of how much there is, based on the dancing, based on the quirky editing choices and the weird acting decisions.
Yeah,
Looking
I agree.
at you, Jafar.
Donovan Martin also agrees that they were 7.5.
Yeah, it's a solid 7.5. Yeah, it's
He
like, it's
also
not going to bake the break. It's not going to, like, at the end of the day, it's not going to be like, oh my God, like top 5 of the year or anything like that. No. But I would say at this point, it's probably solidly in like my top 15 of the year, maybe even cracking the bottom end of the top 10. I honestly, Jacob, it's been a while since I've done a ranking on the movies I've seen this year. I'm going to have to do that soon because we're approaching the middle of the year here in June. But yeah, I mean, it's like this movie, it's like, it's not nothing for sure. I sat in the theater, and throughout the runtime, I had a solid good time with it.
so he also did some Jasmine's hot. Nerd Thanos agrees Jasmine's been my crush since childhood, and Scott's version is my crush too. So
Yeah.
Nerd Thanos also just guess he has the original action figures.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All
And
right, so
also,
with that in mind,
one last thing from Donovan. Do you
okay.
like how they chose to make Genie be human in order to have him and Aladdin have more interaction?
Yeah, that was a good touch. We'll get into it as we talk about the genie. Let's get into the characters.
Yeah.
So let's start with Aladdin. Jacob, do you have the name on this guy? I don't want to butcher it. Do you know how to pronounce it?
I think it's like Mina Masood.
Yeah, something like that. Regardless, I really, really like him a lot. I mean,
I mean, I think he captures like the boyish charm yet action, that lovable action hero that Aladdin was supposed
I
to
mean,
have.
I don't know where they found this guy, but he definitely has the chops for this role. I mean, I would say he's one of the more screen accurate main characters. Like he's up there with like, the kid they got from Mowgli in terms of like, yeah, you see him and it's like, yeah, that's pretty much the animated character brought to life. He's got that kind of boyish grin. He's got the charm. He's got the charisma, like you said, Jacob. He's got kind of like the he's kind of holding a false facade of happiness under a demeanor of sadness. Uh, and this kid can dance. Holy crap!
And he's actually a pretty decent singer too.
Yeah, yeah. Like just in terms of just the dancing, man, that's one of the things I like the most about this movie is how much it embraced that that culture, and that dancing would be something of royalty. And I feel like I don't want to go off and say like, oh, this movie is so historically accurate, but honestly, I do kind of feel like in this sort of like fictionalized setting, like an epic dance off like what Aladdin does deliver is would kind of gain him some points here.
Definitely. I mean, from what I understand, they they took them quite a while to find their leading actors, like, especially with like
Yeah, I
Aladdin.
remember the search for the actors being pretty stressful. And honestly, I think it really paid off that they didn't just cast the first guy that walked into the casting room, or cast like just some name talent or something, because this guy really stands out for me.
It's like, I mean, I think he's done a couple other things. I mean, this might be like his biggest role yet, for all I know. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I haven't really done much research on what he's done before, but if we definitely, I can definitely see him getting a lot of, maybe even getting more roles because of this movie. He just like embodies the role and does so well with it. I'd like to see him in more stuff.
And
Like,
I am curious how this movie is going to do at the box office. I'm curious if
I mean, from what I understand, it's gotten a decent draw so far.
that's good. Like, I'm just curious when that live action Disney fatigue is going to hit. I mean, of course, we've still got Lion King coming up, which people have been calling the trailers for that a religious experience, which I think is ridiculous. But whatever, John Campia. I digress. So the Lion King is kind of like bound to be a big hit at this point. I feel like that movie's got July kind of locked up.
I mean,
Like July is kind of like Superman at the start and Lion King to end it out, or I'm sorry, Spider-Man at the start and Lion King to end it out. We already got a Superman movie, and it was horrifying this summer.
I haven't seen that yet, actually.
Oh, it's something, Jacob. It's something.
I mean, I'm planning on seeing it tomorrow.
Oh man, be prepared. Be prepared.
T- Trust me, I'm prepared.
Ooh,
Although I'm probably just fooling myself.
wear protective glasses.
All right.
I mean, I'm not saying that things are going to fly at your eye during the screening. I'm just saying wearing protective glasses will probably make you feel better.
I'll keep that in mind.
Oh God.
But
Oh man.
moving away from horror for a moment.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, you want to talk Jasmine?
Yeah. I mean, I do remember her name from somewhere. I mean, I've heard of
Naomi
name.
Scott.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do remember her from somewhere. I think someone mentioned Lemonade Mouth. She was in that.
Okay.
I mean, but I mean, I could swear I've heard her name elsewhere. But I mean, that's one of the few other names I actually kind of recognized for this. Because I mean, I don't know but I can't exactly remember where. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, I have to admit she definitely definitely has chops as well. I mean, she embodied the role of Jasmine, and she's arguably did more of it in this one than she was in the original movie.
Yeah, I thought it was a really smart call to have her in One Jump Ahead and have her be like present in the story from the start of it. We kind of already sort of like get from the dialogue that she has with Aladdin that she's kind of like isolated in the palace, so we don't really need to see that. It's kind of employing a good sort of show don't tell. Um,
It's obvious to us that she's the princess. I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's be kind of obvious, but it actually kind of makes sense as to why like it explains why like nobody would recognize the princess. I mean, and it's not. I mean, I guess in the original movie that's not something that needed to be explained. But I guess for something like this, it makes kind of sense if you get what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
But I like it. It already shows off the bat that they have their chemistry and that they have their chemistry and shows what Aladdin's capable of at the same time. Like how he's like, I mean, I guess kind of Arabian Nights kind of showed some of the stuff he was capable of, but this is like really showcasing that he's capable of like he's a thief, but he's a good person at heart.
Sure.
If you
Um,
sorry, I kind of rambled there for a moment.
no, I don't really want to talk too much about the songs. I kind of want to keep those separate.
Well, I was just talking about like how like it showed. I was saying how it showed her that he was a thief but a good person at heart.
Yeah, I know. This is what I struggle with dragons format sometimes. It's like, okay, well you want to talk about this during this period and now we want to talk about this, but I have to make this point to talk about this point. So what do you want me to do, buddy? Anyway,
Well,
I'm sorry kind of projecting there.
yeah, no, it's fine. But I like some of the directions they took with Jasmine. How she's a lot more assertive here, and like wanting to take an active role in leading her people.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. It was kind of like a my first look into diplomacy. I mean, in all seriousness, it is nice because most princesses, like with the Princess Diaries, for example, it's just like, all right, we're going to teach you how to look like a princess and how to talk like a princess and how to sit like a princess and sip tea like a princess. And Jasmine's like, no, like as a princess, I have diplomatic duties to my nation that I am going to fulfill in a hardcore way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an expansion I can definitely get behind. I mean, as Nerd Thanos just pointed out, it's kind of like Jasmine in the original in the series, in the animated series.
It is a little bit like Jasmine in the animated series. You're right. Yeah, good pull, good call.
It's like a
Yeah,
good
we
job.
need to talk about some of that like weird, like off-brand, well, not off-brand, but just kind of like, the Aladdin, all the Aladdin canon that exists outside of the main movie, Jacob.
Well, yeah, good work in pointing that out, Nerd Thanos fan. But I could definitely kind of see that because in a lot of the episodes, she actually did take more an active role, and like
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
I mean, the original movie didn't really focus on that too much. But
No,
I
the
mean,
original movie was more about kind of just like, oh, I want to marry the man that I choose, not a man who's set up for me based on a mandatory system.
yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The original, she had her moments, like like sneaking out of the palace, and and she had some action beats here and there. But no, I mean, this one is. I don't want to say it's a better character than the original, but like you said, I certainly think they flesh her out a little more.
And how to say? I mean, I see that. I mean, there's not much more you can say. I mean, like I said, a lot of her good moments actually come near the end as well. I mean,
Uh-huh.
she definitely shows herself to be as resourceful and clever as original Jasmine was in different ways.
Also, we should backtrack here because we need to talk about Abu with Aladdin, and then we should talk about the Sultan and Raja when it comes to Jasmine. So
Oh, sorry.
quick, no problem. It's my fault. So quick thoughts on Abu. I honestly thought the CGI on Abu was very convincing, and you see, it's like I'm not just biased against CGI animals. It's like the Dumbo CGI looked horrifying, and this CGI actually looks cute. What
But
can
he
I
actually
say?
got
What more do you want from me?
there are actually a lot of places where he actually looked kind of like an actual monkey.
Yeah, yeah.
I know pretty much the entire time there wasn't an actual monkey there. But I mean, I don't know if then again, I don't even know if they actually did use an actual monkey for him sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, that's just how good of a job they did making it look convincing. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are obviously like, and they definitely kept his character similar too. I mean, obviously they toned down like his more human vocal aspects. Like, he doesn't
But
speak
he's
like
still voiced by Frank Welker, though.
yeah, he doesn't speak the monkey English that he did in the original
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
But he could definitely still tell what he's like thinking and what he's doing, just like based on his noises and just his facial expressions alone. Which
I
definitely
just
worked.
like that. This is going to sound very quaint, Jacob, but I just like that he's still a troublemaking scamp.
It's like there are times when
He's a little rapscallion.
there are times when we steal, and times when we don't. There's definitely a don't. He still causes the problems, but he's still that monkey we all know and love, and he even has several of his own times to shine,
Yeah.
especially in the final scenes.
I'm just, you know what I'm thinking of now that I feel like in One Jump Ahead, they definitely did a lot of beats in One Jump Ahead that we'll talk about that I was happy to see included. But you know, one of the bits with Abu in One Jump Ahead that I'm kind of disappointed they didn't do?
What was that?
He's got a sword! You idiots! We've all got swords!
That would have been nice to see. Well, then again, they'd have to pull a sword out of a person, and that probably would have gone totally.
Yeah, a CGI monkey with a full sword, maybe not the most convincing thing in the world, but yeah.
Yeah, trust me, I would have loved to see that too. It's like maybe they can do that in a gag reel or something.
All right. Okay, so then on Jasmine's side of things, Raja, definitely a way better looking CGI tiger than The Walking Dead.
I haven't seen The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what they did with Raja overall. I
Well,
mean, I feel like it's pretty much the same. They hit pretty much the same beats, but just generally speaking, it's just the animation on it is top notch and looks very realistic, and that's about all you can really ask for with Raja in live
well,
action.
well, to be fair to Walking Dead, Aladdin arguably had a much larger budget.
Oh no, yeah, for sure, for sure.
But he, I mean, he kind of almost looks like Shere Khan in a way. Reminds me of. I think Shere Khan's a bit more slender than Raja is.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Shere Khan is definitely more slender. Raja is way more kind of built out, like maybe even a little plump from being fed like royalty.
Well, yeah, he looks just as realistic as Shere Khan did, which is
He
a
does,
compliment.
he does. If not, I would say maybe even a little more so.
Because of the technology advancement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that one thing I can be say is like that CGI animals definitely look very convincing. That's
And then the
okay.
Sultan was kind of just okay for me. He was just kind of there. It wasn't like a Kevin Kline in Beauty and the Beast. By the way, Kevin Kline in Beauty and the Beast probably like one of the few things in that movie that was actually improved. But it wasn't like a situation like that where it's like, ah, man, that performer just elevated the role. And I was very disappointed that we didn't have the miniature animals that the Sultan liked to play with.
Which ironically enough had Beast in it.
Right, right. We didn't get to see a cameo of didn't we see Scar at one point too?
In Hercules, I
Oh
think.
yeah, I'm thinking of Hercules. You're right.
Well, it's another Musker Clements movie, so
Yeah. God. All right. Let's see. Anything else about any?
well, like I said, the Sultan. He's definitely not shown to be as incompetent as he was in the original movie, or like his.
But at the same point, I feel like the fact that they played up the fact that he's a buffoon in the original made him a little bit more fun than he is in this one.
I'm not denying any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely like I said, in the original movie, he was definitely a lot more endearing and charming. Here he's like plays more of like a serious leader more than anything else.
Uh-huh. Oh God.
That's not to say he's not without his funny moments.
And now I am tempted to look up a clip from the Jacob, do you remember me telling you about that twisted parody or the Jafar parody of Wicked?
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Okay, well, basically all throughout the oh god, this is gonna get a little explicit, but I don't care because this is the Sultan I really want on screen. Damn it! So all throughout the first act of that movie, they're like really hyping up the Sultan as like this big, bad, powerful figure, right? And you think it's gonna be basically the equivalent to the Wizard of Oz in Wicked, and basically what happens is that there's this big grand introduction, almost kind of like a Prince Ali style cavalcade comes in for the Sultan. And the Sultan comes on screen, or comes on stage, I should say. And you want to know what his first lines on stage are, Jacob? The big kind of like end of Act 1 character introduction for the Sultan.
Lay it on me.
Many years ago, I had a penis, and then it went into my body, and it never came out.
Oh, jeez.
Now that's the Sultan we deserve, Jacob.
That's
Oh god, I apologize for that, folks. I know that somewhere Adventure Blue Dude is just laughing hysterically. I had a penis, and then it went into my body, and it didn't come out.
I'm gonna have to watch this thing.
Yeah, I recommend it. I'm pretty sure you can find the whole thing on Team Star Kid's official channel.
I think I just found it on YouTube.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, so I guess we can move on to the next character.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about Carpet for a second. How'd they do Carpet?
He was a good carpet. Like,
there's not much else to say. I what I like about it is that they got the weight of the carpet down. I feel like a little bit more than in the animated movie. You really felt felt like if this was an actual carpet, it would be a heavy thing. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be like kind of this light as a feather thing that just kind of moves about.
I mean, those carpets. I mean, those kind of rugs can actually be pretty heavy.
That's what I'm saying, Jacob. Like, I work in a thrift store and I move those things. Like, I move at least 5 of those things a day. So it's like, they're not light. They're not something to be dealt with, lightly.
Want to hear my carpet impression?
Sure.
So what do you think? It's very. It's very similar to my Gromit impression.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I think they also got down the timing for him as well. It's like, again, like the expressions on even the animals and even the inanimate objects in this movie are convincing, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty par for the course. Like, honestly, it's like this is sort of like one of the things where it's like, we're all worried about with the Lion King is if those characters are going to translate well, especially those more realistic designs. But for this, what I like is I feel like this is the sort of design that they really should have got for the Lion King, where it's like it still looks animated. It doesn't look photorealistic, but it looks realistic enough. I don't know. I'm worried. I'm more and more worried about the Lion King as we get closer to that one.
Some of the people I was in an acting group with, actually, one of the people I was working with actually wanted to use the costumes from the theatrical production for the Lion King.
Oh, Jacob, you have no idea. I have ideas about a movie like that.
It'd be funny. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, that would be a ballsy as hell choice to do as a Lion King movie, but man, it would be interesting.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so let's get to this is all your fault, Jafar. I'm gonna say Jafar probably the weak part of the movie, but I don't think he's nearly as bad as the trailers made him out to be. like he's still not great, right? Like comparatively, he doesn't really. I feel like most of the other casting choices knock it out of the park, and I feel like Jafar maybe hits a single. That's kind of how I feel. It's like he's still good. Honestly, I don't think he's terrible. I think he kind of has this air of like quiet, like scheming menace about him that you don't really see in the trailers that plays better in the context of the movie. I do like that his design is one of the more movie accurate designs. I what little backstory they do give for him, like the whole idea that he once used to be a thief who was then brought up to live in the palace, which kind of mirrors Aladdin. That was very interesting. I honestly really wish they would have explored that a lot more with Jafar. But yeah, overall, I'm not saying that Jafar was a highlight of the movie by any means, but man, he didn't kill it like he could have.
That's what I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with you. I mean, in a way, it's almost like the opposite of the animated movie, where he was obviously evil, large and over the top, larger than life.
That's what I'm saying, and I think I like it is interesting that they went in a different direction, but I feel like Jafar. The interesting thing about Jafar is that he has always been one of the more political of the Disney villains, right? Like Jafar's aim was less on world domination and more on political power, more than anything else. And so with that in mind, I feel like modern day politics is a lot of like shifty, quiet, behind the scenes sort of whisperings. And I think the dude they got for it pulled it off pretty well. Like, I'm not saying he was like amazing or anything, but I definitely think I give him more credit than the trailer. I really think the trailer did this performance a disservice.
It's like he definitely did for the way his character was written in this movie. He definitely did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might more come down to, like, the whole writing aspect, or even some other aspects that just feel like a wasted opportunity. But for what he was given, I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm sorry.
So I think I'm not even gonna try because I don't want to butcher it up so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always just look him up later, I guess. But from what he was given, I mean, he did a very good job with it. And I mean, honestly, I wish they would have done more with him, especially closer to the end.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because that's kind of like the big. I think the end is the big letdown, Jacob. I mean, it's like I don't even think that Aladdin had that great of a final act to begin with in terms of like Aladdin's final act to me always felt like, okay, just like rapid fire, we need to wrap up everything. So bam, Jafar's got the lamp now, and everything just kind of kicks into overdrive. I mean, don't get me wrong, we get some cool stuff within that for sure, like the snake that should have been in this movie. But just say, I mean, let's just talk about it, Jacob. The snake is not in this movie, and we do get something cool with the staff turning into a snake and what they did with that. That was decent, but
I guess we got Giant Iago, which is pretty cool too.
Giant Iago to me just kind of felt like I would have much rather just had the snake. Honestly,
I mean, I would have liked to see both, actually. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, given the choice between the two, I would have liked them to be like more accurate. And I feel like the snake like just ties way more into Jafar's character.
I would like to see that too, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of skipped around the whole thing, if you ask
I
me.
mean, they didn't like really the finale was kind of a bore, honestly, because they didn't have any of the hallmark like really cool stuff that made the original one so enjoyable. They didn't have the genie cheering on the sidelines as like an over the top cheerleader. They didn't have Jasmine trapped in the giant hourglass. They didn't have Raja and the carpet kind of being reverted, like like the transformations. They didn't have any of like the dark ominous sky. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they just didn't do in this finale. It really did feel like I said, I really think that act 3 of Aladdin is like one of the more rushed of the great Disney movies. But man, the remake just really kicks it into overdrive with like being too rushed. I mean, it's easily one of the biggest disappointments about the remake, Jacob.
I mean that's one thing I was going. That's one thing I was thinking too. I mean, mainly more not so necessarily rushed because that can't. That's not always necessarily bad, but it's more like a lot of wasted opportunities.
Well, I mean, I do think some of these action sequences are rushed. I mean, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense that action sequences in the original movie that were hand drawn and probably took a lot more time to pull off and a lot more effort to pull off um are like twice as long as we get in this version, like the Cave of Wonders, for example. What we get in the Cave of Wonders is okay, but I just feel like it's so much more grand and it really feels like a roller coaster in the original movie, and here it just kind of feels like they swoop around a cavern and do a few somersaults, and that's kind of the end.
I mean, it's kind of surprising considering Guy Ritchie's known for his action movies.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like that. That is one of the things that really. I mean, granted, weirdly, I feel like he fits a lot of the action into the songs, which is an interesting. Like, I feel like that also kind of ties back to what we were talking about, with the Pirates of the Caribbean meets Bollywood element of this movie.
I mean, yeah, because that's the part that surprised me the most. I mean, a lot of the survey. I mean, a lot of the action scenes. Especially near the end, it's like it's Guy Ritchie. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, he co-wrote the movie, so I'm surprised he didn't actually add in more of that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's like I understand that they don't want to just entirely copy from the movie, but man, there was a lot of cool, iconic stuff in that, and they threw out like most of it.
All I'm saying is like what I might say is they could have like expanded upon it even.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, he co-wrote the movie. He could have added more in if
Like
he wanted.
they could have had like a whole, like a whole Back to the Future Part 2 scenario of Jafar becoming the evil overlord of Agrabah in an alternate timeline or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a change to the plot that I would have actually been okay with.
That would
All right.
definitely would have been an interesting twist.
Yeah. So let's talk Iago. I think Alan Tudyk I mean, my God, that guy is just turning into Disney's good luck charm for sure. And I just love him in pretty much everything he does, and he doesn't disappoint here at all.
I mean, Iago definitely doesn't talk as much.
No, but I like the approach that they do with him. I like that with Iago, they kind of like take advantage of the parody nature of, of his actual species, and like they kind of just turn him into more of a spy, which I think really works.
And it's not like he didn't do that in the original movie either. I mean, it's like diamond in the rough.
And I think he's a lot more menacing in this one too.
Yeah, because in the original movie, it was more played for obviously, like a lot of stuff, played for comedy.
I'm so ticked off that I'm molting.
so, so in this one,
Which really quick, just generally speaking, I honestly I thought everything with the Cave of Wonders was a little bit of a letdown.
yeah, I mean, that's considering a lot of stuff that was expanded or explained. That one's like really kind of really kind of just felt like out of place. Like they never explained like how like how will we like Iago calls him a diamond in the rough. He'll definitely work.
No, honestly, I think it's explained better in the original.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, at
Because
least
in
like
the original, at least they have that weird like sands of time thing.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. In the original movie, they at least Jafar like some kind of like
Like
conveniently
Deus Ex, you know, Deus
kind
Ex a plot device thingy.
yeah, and with a ring that's never even brought up again.
Right.
But at least that's like convenient magic. But here Iago just basically calls Aladdin a diamond in the rough,
Yeah,
and
that was that.
just suddenly Jafar's like, oh, maybe he'll work.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, folks, we enjoyed this movie a lot, but it's got its problems for sure.
I mean, obviously, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like this movie. I mean, I like it quite a bit. But I mean but it just makes the bad stuff. I mean, like the good stuff, the stuff that does so well, just makes the bad stuff that we question stand out so much more.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you always criticize. I mean, no movie's perfect, but no movie's perfect, and this movie's definitely far from it.
All right. Anything else with Iago or Jafar?
Not really. I mean, it just still seems still kind of weird that he would take a Yago with him this time. I mean, into the lamp. I mean, speaking of the genie, I mean, I wish we would have seen more of Jafar genie.
Yeah, Jafar Genie was just kind of ridiculous. It's like everyone talks shit about Will Smith Blue Genie, but Jafar Genie was really the one that felt like the unfinished effect.
Yeah, it's like even his voice just sounded odd.
Yeah, yeah, that was and it's a shame because it's like the one thing that they actually managed to adapt from the finale and it's just off.
Yeah, it's like they didn't really. I mean, I think he appeared in. I mean, Jafar in the original movie as a genie barely appeared for like what 40 seconds,
Oh yeah, less than a minute probably, yeah.
and this one is like less than that.
Right, right.
And he's like he's not even. He's like, I'm the most powerful being in the universe, so I'm gonna go attack our neighboring country.
God. Add a little bit of political intrigue to it.
It just felt like, yeah, you're now this all powerful being, and that's your immediate goal. At least the original was like, the universe is
Why not
mine.
wish for the downfall of that country or whatever?
I mean, that would have been a waste of a wish, considering he probably want to do that to every single country that opposes him.
That's true. That's a fair point.
But yeah, so I mean,
Oh, also with Jafar, I like the running gag. This will transition us into the genie. I like the running gag of like, oh, there's that guy.
you mean that guy? Yeah, that's the guy.
That's the guy. That's the guy.
And like I said, don't take these last few minutes as just like not liking the guy who plays him. I mean, that's not all. That's obviously that's not all on him. I mean, he did good for what he did
I
good
mean,
for what he was.
honestly, it's more the writing. It's really not his fault at all. It's more that they didn't push him far enough.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, honestly, for like I said, for what he was given, he did a great job. But I wish they could. I mean, they could have pushed him a lot more in this movie
Hmm.
and done a lot more with his overall concept.
All right, so let's talk about Blue Will Smith.
Yes, I mean that's basically what he is. I mean, he's not the genie. He's blue. He's basically Will Smith just walked under the set.
I mean, I honestly beg to differ there, Jacob.
I was just joking anyway.
Okay, good, because I think that Will Smith is the heart of this movie, and he is honestly probably the best part of this movie. He's the reason why this movie exists. This is one of the best Will Smith performances I've seen in years. And I think that everyone is probably going to feel super bad about shit talking Will Smith and all the hype leading up to this movie because, my God, if anything, he saves this movie.
He was definitely a pleasant surprise. I mean, I'll give it. I was you know me for the longest time. I was defending Will Smith. I was pretty much defending Will Smith from the very beginning. I mean, you remember that, right?
Yeah, I mean, was I ever against him?
I mean, I don't think you were, but you know, like
I think if anything, I thought it was a little bit of a safe choice, which it was. But I mean, it's like, still sometimes the safe choice is the right choice.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that was my thought. I know that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen his stuff in Fresh Prince. I've seen his stuff in like Men in Black. It's like he's a great he's a good singer with great comedic timing.
Mhm.
Like I mean, he's perfect. He'd be a great choice for the genie in this movie. And when the full movie came out, he definitely proved that definitely has the right chops for it. And another thing needs to be commended for, he didn't do like a straight carbon copy of Robin Williams either.
No, absolutely not. Because what he does best in this movie, and this is what I really appreciate, and why I say this is authentically the genie, is that he essentially takes what Robin Williams did, which is kind of like just lift his routine and apply it to the character, and there it is. It's like, it's essentially just like Will Smith and all his Will Smithisms, but tied to the mythology of the genie character. And that's really what you need to do. You need to bring your own flavor to it. You can't just be all like, like Robin Williams with it. And I feel like this genie, I think we get a lot less pop culture references and a lot more kind of like squatch and stretch. Like, honestly, the animation in this movie kind of reminded me of with the genie, almost kind of reminded me of The Mask in certain areas.
Well, ironically, because people saying Jim Carrey, I think Jim Carrey and other people would have been good for the genie too.
Maybe 90s Jim Carrey, definitely not now Jim Carrey with the creepy beard and everything.
I mean, I'm don't get me wrong, I agree with you there. But yeah, Will Smith, like as you said, like it's definitely more like a more broad style of comedy than like pop culture references and stuff like that.
Which honestly, I feel like, look, nothing's going to replace Robin Williams. All right, I'm a Bay Area kid. I grew up with Robin Williams living in my neck of the woods. I love Robin Williams more than life itself, but I honestly think that this genie might have a little bit more dimension and depth to him.
I mean, for something like this, it's definitely kind of needed to have more of a
Uh,
human center. And I think Will Smith definitely knocks that part of the park. It's like he nails down the comedic acting and the definitely the more dramatic moments with him too. It's like, and they even changed it. They even changed like a few of the scenes with them, which I definitely did approve of as well.
uh,
I like how like when they have their whole split thing. Like when talking about talking about the whole split up.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
how I like how it's actually less melodramatic than it was in the original movie. It's like he's like, it's like, oh, you're not gonna free me from the lamp. It's like, no, it's like, no, kid, I'm concerned about you, and you're breaking my heart here.
Yeah, that was a good moment for sure.
I like how it wasn't like so overly like like don't get me wrong, the original movie worked with it, but I like how it's like less melodramatic here. It's like, kid, I'm doing this for you, and like I'm looking out for you, kid.
Also, the big point in that scene, I think and I know Donovan agrees with me. I love the line about like in 10,000 years, I never once called a master a friend until you. I mean, that's a great line for the genie, man. I love that stuff. I like that. Just kind of like that just goes to show you like how good the friendship between the genie and Aladdin really is, and
They've
why
only,
that's such a core part of the movie.
and that says something considering they've only known each other for like a few days.
Uh
It's like because he's like, well, I've known like usually by this time you're like money power.
huh.
And like so like having someone like Aladdin around him was probably like a great change of pace for the genie.
uh
And it's as you said, a kind of a great don't show, don't tell kind of thing. Like why Aladdin bonded with him. It's like he's actually the first person to show interest in what Genie wanted.
Let me ask you this: what do you think of the framing device?
I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, I think in retrospect, it kind of gives away. I mean, don't get me wrong. Anybody who's just seen the original movie kind of already knows what happens. But those who haven't, it kind of does give away the ending in a way.
I
If you
mean,
if you if you
yeah, it
if you
does, but I don't mind it just because I feel like it's kind of like one of those like Princess Bride style. Like it's less about the ending and more about the destination and how we get to the ending.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against it either. I thought it was actually quite a clever framing device.
I especially like when the framing device, like hits the, like where the framing device comes back and we get the mother coming in and, filling in the blanks of the story.
Oh yeah, like I said, I don't like I said, I definitely don't dislike that opening. I mean, I thought it was like a very clever way to introduce it and like kind of also kind of like reincorporate the original intention of the original movie to have the genie be the storyteller all along.
Exactly, exactly. That was a good touch for sure.
S- so like I said, it was definitely welcome. I mean, to basically, I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I mean, that's one thing I definitely loved about the opening. Like, I was kind of hooked by that. I wasn't expecting that kind of opening, but I really kind of like. It actually kind of feels like an actual tale being told.
Mm.
Like, I mean, that's what Aladdin originally was a story that was passed, a story that was told, and kind of incorporates that here.
Yeah, sure, sure. Um, let's see. you want to talk about his wife a little bit? I already forgot the name of the wife. I'm sorry.
Jasmine's housemaid Dahlia.
Dahlia, yes. I thought she was also adorable.
It's like I was like when I saw that they were actually, I was like, oh, I can tell they're definitely going to have good interactions with each other. And like it definitely provides a good parallel between Aladdin and Jasmine and Genie and Dahlia. It's
Yeah,
like
it does, and it gives you like way more stakes in the story.
like they're both these like kind of like guys who like turn to mushy dorks around attractive girls.
Right.
It's like the kid's contagious. But it was honest. But it really seemed like they have like a genuine connection. It's like, yes, Dahlia kind of like had this bit of a snarky side, but it kind of worked with the genie's kind of personality in this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I like how Dahlia didn't really overstay her welcome either. Like she's obviously a new character that's added to this movie because she was never in the original. But I don't think she doesn't overstay her welcome, and she doesn't like change things, make things too dramatically different either. But at the same time, she doesn't feel entirely pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was there to give Jasmine someone to talk to besides, well, the tiger.
Right, right. All right.
And I just love the scene where she pretends to be the princess.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. And
It's like,
I like how in that scene it's like you can see just based on Aladdin's facial reactions, it's like he kind of knows what's going on. It's just kind of like, okay, I can kind of put the pieces together that something's a little off about this whole scenario.
and and then but obviously he doesn't realize the full story until he
Yeah.
gets told by Jafar. But he's like, she's kind of stressed out. He's like, mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't, like I said, she doesn't overstay her welcome, but she doesn't feel like, overly forced into the movie, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh, for
Like
sure.
she was a welcome change, and as Will Smith pointed out, add a bit of humanity to the genie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's all I have to say about her.
All right, so let's quickly run through the songs, just kind of like generally speaking, like how they adapted them and what changes they made, and generally that kind of stuff.
Like
We'll start with Arabian Nights, which I love this interpretation of Arabian Nights.
Pasek and Paul really did a number with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it doesn't have quite the guttural impact that the original does, just because the original did have those more extreme lyrics to them that of course I understand why they had to be cut. But
The only thing that was changed was the cut off your ear thing. But
no, there were other things like the whole um
well, I mean, the entire song basically had different.
Hey, it's home. I mean, a lot of the song was rewritten.
Like from the I thought you were talking about like how the original lyric was different from when they re-released it on like home video and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I get that, but I'm saying like now the song is almost entirely reworked.
Like I said, that's why I was saying Pasek and Paul did a good number with this.
Yeah.
It's like,
But
like
I just really like how it's basically like one panning shot through Agrabah. We see everyone. We see the positions in which our main characters are taking. It reminds me of like an overture for a play or something like that. Like a good overture where we see everyone kind of like getting set up to be in their places for the start of the story. I love that about it.
and it frames the story in an interesting way. Like it starts it off as like a tale being told to a couple of Will Smith, to the genie. Well, as we know, genie's kids, and that sets up as like, okay, here's our players. Here's what's going on. Like we can definitely see a familiar monkey crawling around. We see several great shots at the palace as the music swells, which I admit is a really great shot.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love kind of like the Birdman quality to it.
I mean, it definitely, and it also kind of paints as like this is it's definitely kind of paints as like almost like a lot darker lyrics too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's I mean, I can't remember all the lyrics by hand, but I'll straight up admit I was holding off on. I was planning on holding off and listening to the soundtrack before I saw the movie. But I just decided, but like the day before I saw, like, okay, screw it, I'm just gonna listen to the soundtrack now.
You caved in.
Yes.
I held out, Jacob. I held out.
I mean, I didn't listen to everything, but like I said, if I had any doubts before about some of the stuff I heard, listening to the soundtrack definitely helped me get into the seat more. So it wasn't entirely a loss, but I was more. I think when I listened to it, I was like, "Oh, I can't actually wait to see this." So
Okay,
it wasn't.
Go ahead.
Like I said, so it wasn't entirely a loss. Like I can't wait to see the visuals attached to this song.
Yeah.
And even how a lot of the song.
All right, so,
sorry.
Getting into one jump ahead. No, go ahead.
I was pretty much done anyway.
Yes.
Yes, I was pretty much done anyway.
All right, so one jump ahead. Okay, gotcha.
I think there's a bit of a delay.
One jump ahead was a good one. I feel like it was a little auto-tuned.
I can see where you would think so.
And we get some interesting moments of like fast forwarding and then speeding up and slowing down. And I feel like that is just kind of like Guy Ritchie's direction. But I will say it feels more out of place in this song than it does in the moment where he's getting thrown in the ocean. That moment I think feels completely natural. This I feel like because it's part of a song and because Aladdin's singing as it's getting sped up and fast forwarding, it takes me out of it just a little bit.
I mean, it did kind of feel a bit weird. I mean, the singing was normal pace, but then like his action.
What I'm saying. Like if they would have gone to like if in the soundtrack you would have heard like Aladdin like singing at a faster pace to keep up with the rhythm he's going at, that would have made a little bit more sense.
Or they could have the speed up and slow downs when there wasn't any singing.
Yeah. Right, for sure. Having said that, there were some bits that were kept in this sequence that I enjoyed. Of course, a couple of them that were cut, like the sword bit, unfortunately was cut. And one of the things that I was really hoping for that I kind of knew we weren't going to get was Crazy Hakim's House of Fertilizer. I was really hoping for that, but
I hate New York.
I like that we got the I blame parents except he hasn't got them. That was fun. And then perhaps one of my favorite bits is the whole like, let's not be too hasty.
Still, I think he's rather tasty.
What I love about this, Jacob, is that they change it up just enough where it's like in the original, it's just kind of like this horrific, like grotesque woman that pops out of the window. And here it's like it's kind of awesome because they make it like this big black woman just standing up to the guards. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna get past my Aladdin. I love that.
I think. I mean, definitely say the pace of the original movie was more frantic than this, but a lot of still standing shots in this. But I still think it serves the song quite well, especially.
Yeah.
Just like the whole speeding up and speeding down thing. Just as you kind of said, I mean, it's not too gratuitous, but it is noticeable.
All right, so that gets us to Friend Like Me. Friend Like Me might be the best scene in any of these live action Disney remakes, hands down. It honestly might be one of the best things in live action that Disney has ever put together.
Yeah, I was like,
I mean, I'm not even being hyperbolic about it. I fucking love this sequence.
I mean, for a lot of people, this is the sequence that the movie was riding on.
Like, Jacob, my question to you is where the hell was this kind of visual imagination in the goddamn pink elephant scene.
I don't know. I didn't see Dumbo.
Jacob, it makes me so angry that we could have gotten a pink elephant scene reminiscent of something like this, where it's just super flashy and super frantic and has all the energy of a cartoon, and just like images are just flying at you and you can't even keep track of it. And then in Pink Elephant, it's like it's some fucking bubbles. Like it's literally a Doug Walker meme. It's bubbles.
Like I said, I didn't see Dumbo, and I'm probably never going to, so I can't really tell
What's
you.
the matter, Jacob? You don't want to see my heart-wrenching performance? I
Well,
honestly think I gave it more emotion than the actual girl did in that.
well, like I said, I can't say, and based on what you're saying, I really don't really feel any more need to see it.
But yeah, I mean, Friend Like Me, is it as good as the original? Like, no, probably not. But I think, man, they really kind of outdid themselves with going as balls to the walls as they possibly could. By the way, I love how it starts out with just the tiny little Abu with the symbols, and then he kind of like builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I knew they weren't gonna, pass up on that song. Was like okay, that's a good way to start off. It's like
Mhm.
okay, this is definitely a different take from the genie that we knew before.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, and Will Smith. I mean, I guess again, as we've been saying, Will Smith did his own thing with the song. Like, I mean, you can tell he's not trying to imitate Robin Williams. He's like trying to put his own as a fresh take on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And I
I mean,
mean, we got like the that big finale with the elephants balancing on the big balls, and just
the
I mean,
camels, the
holy crap!
fireworks.
They jammed so much visually into this sequence. I was just utterly delighted by it, Jacob. I mean, this is like honestly, this is the type of visual stuff where it's like if they did this kind of visual stuff more often, then I would be more down with Disney live action remakes just as a whole.
I mean, don't get me. I mean, one thing this movie should be plotted for is like it definitely it's musical numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. This movie feels like a big epic musical.
At least when it does the musical numbers.
Yes, I feel like honestly, I feel like they could have added a couple more. Like
Yeah.
there's a couple from the Broadway show they could have put in. One of them that I was like, "Oh my god, could they possibly do it?" Which I would have loved, Jacob, is if they would have put "Proud of Your Boy" in there.
Yep, I know you would have liked that.
Oh, Jacob, if they started singing "Proud of Your Boy," oh my god, I think I would have lost it in the theater. I really do.
I know.
I
I
really
mean,
think that I would have been like, "Oh, that's Proud of Your Boy. They cut that song and now it's back in." Oh.
it would have been a bargaining chip for Dragon to see it. but but going on friend like me, they really didn't. I mean, like I said, for a lot of people, this is what the movie was hanging on.
Oh,
I mean, and like it was gonna make or break the movie for a lot of people. And a lot of and from what I've been hearing, a lot of people were like really as you just said, it's one of the major highlights of the movie.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, they
And I mean, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Dumbo. It's like by the time we got to the pink elephants in Dumbo, I was already checked out. But then when the pink elephants happen, I was kind of like fully in fuck you mode at that point. But
yeah.
all right. Let's see. So Prince Ali.
I mean, not as obviously not as visually extravagant as friend like me, but
I thought this was well done, though.
like I said not as visually
Yeah,
extravagant, but but in terms of sheer bombasticness and over the topness, definitely. I mean, like I said, in some ways, it's even more epic than the original one was.
in some ways, yeah, yeah.
I mean, again, it's like, and I mean, they sure they lived in a lot of scenes like with Robin Williams, like with Will Smith like dressing as like one of the dancing girls, which was a lot of people were like actually concerned that they wouldn't put that in. But when I saw, it, I was
Uh,
like, hey, they did it.
what I like about it, and I think they played it subtly, but essentially all the dancers were being controlled by the genie.
I mean, that honestly wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they're pretty much creations of him, and he was able to control Aladdin later.
Mhm.
So
Also, I fucking love the whole like, oh, the bit where it's like, oh, you call that a big hat? Oh, we'll see about a big hat.
it's like,
And
this is a big hat.
I'm honestly surprised that more people aren't referencing this, and that like this should be a huge meme at this point.
That is
Where
not a big.
fucking Prince Ali happens, and Will Smith just comes out in like the biggest, most over the top hat.
It's a huge turban.
Oh god.
But it is cool when it like
How is
explodes.
that not a meme already?
Like it's pretty awesome when it explodes into confetti, though.
It is. It is.
I mean, this is like definitely where you can see like the Bollywood references shine, the Bollywood influences shine through.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
I mean, this is like, I mean, don't me wrong, they pretty much turned that into like one huge over the top Bollywood dance number. And Guy Ritchie did it surprisingly well. I mean, I'm wrong. Obviously, the choreographer and everything probably helped, but it shows that
Dragon, whoever the choreographer on this movie is like definitely on point for sure.
like yeah, it's like they definitely chose the right guy for the job. Like, I mean, it couldn't have been easy like coordinating something that huge.
Uh huh.
From what I mean, they probably use some digital copies because some of them do look the
Well,
same.
I'm sure they did. Yeah.
Probably because they do look the same, but it's still a huge number regardless.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's another. It's like one like pretty much one showstopper after another. And again, Will Smith did a great job. I mean, what can we say? He's like he sung the two show-stopping songs in the movie, other than the big romance number.
Hmm. Speaking of which, transition. Yeah, whole new world. I've been hearing people saying that this sequence is a little boring, and I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's boring, but I will say that it's probably the one song where I can definitely call it a downgrade from the way they did it in the original.
I mean, I wish they would have gone more places.
That's what I'm saying, Jacob. Visually speaking, it's a shame. I really don't feel like they went far enough with this one. Considering, like, maybe they just blew their budget on Friend Like Me. I don't know. But considering how big Friend Like Me was, and considering that, honestly, Jacob, I know several people. Like this song is I feel like for a good subsect of people, especially 90s kids, this song is almost like their version of When You Wish Upon a Star. It's like the Disney song.
I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, it does have its context outside of being a romantic song,
Uh-huh.
but like I said, I just wish. I mean, I do agree with you though. They could have done like, I mean, I can show you the world, which is just basically around Agrabah.
Right? Like pretty much.
I mean, I know they probably couldn't. I mean, they're obviously going for a more realistic kind of thing, I
Like,
guess.
yeah, it's like it's the realistic, like they couldn't actually be like flying around the world and like the time zones would be all weird and wonky at that point, but
But and the genie wasn't with them, so they couldn't teleport them.
right.
But that's the
I
thing.
mean, I get why they did it, but I still think even if it was just in Agrabah, I still think they could have gone grander. I
I
think
mean,
they could have done like more swooping camera angles and more close calls and
I mean,
you
I
know
gotta. I mean, it should
had
have
it
been like.
feel more like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Is like they should have filmed them from the back when they were going down the waterfall.
Exactly, exactly. Like just visually speaking, it's like I feel like the setup was there. I honestly don't mind the idea of them just going around Agrabah because it does add to the sense of realism.
I
But
mean,
I just feel like in terms of direction, Guy Ritchie just kind of got a little lazy.
and in terms of like realism and stuff like that, like this has been dead. This actually would have been a good time to throw suspension of disbelief out the window.
Uh huh.
And yeah, gone all out with like being extravagant.
Right,
I mean, I
right.
mean, like I said, this has been a good time to throw that out throw like the sense of
I mean,
realism.
I don't know, Jacob. I'm still in the camp where it's like I think that them
I,
staying in Agrabah was honestly a good choice, just because, if not for the realism, just for the continuity of like keeping track of the different time zones of where they would be.
I mean, I understand all that, and I'm go and I agree with you in some way, but I do go with what you said as like the whole. I mean, they're on a magic carpet ride. I mean, it should be like a freewheeling roller coaster. Like
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
have any. You can like you can go anywhere. You don't need to be confined to like filming them from the. I mean, obviously, you need to see them singing and enjoying themselves, but you could have just gone with like a whole like a roller coaster ride, and it would have been a lot more. It would have been a lot of fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. The visuals and the waterfall and stuff like that was cool, but again, I just think it should have been more. It should have been overwhelming instead of underwhelming.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I think we're both simpatico on that.
I mean, again, as far as pretty much everything in this movie, it was serviceable, and I guess that's as good as it goes. I mean, not horrible by any means, but definitely could have been improved.
Well, I mean, I think Friend Like Me is way more than serviceable.
Well, I mean, like it's. I'm just saying, as far as this goes, like,
Mhm. Yeah, 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 sure. All right, and finally we get to the new song. We get to Speechless.
yeah, I thought it was a pretty good song. I mean, again, Pasek and Paul doing good with the lyric and the new song. I mean, I can definitely see it as something that Howard Ashman or Tim Rice would probably write. Like a and Naomi Scott's vocals, I think she definitely proves she can belt it out like the big time.
Yeah, I definitely I like this song more than some of Jasmine's standalone songs and the theater versions of the show I've seen, be it the Broadway show or the California Adventure show. Like it does kind of have a nice sort of like power ballad quality to it. And I do think it's nice that we do get a nice kind of pumping song in the third act. Honestly, the lack of musical numbers in the third act is one of the things that bothers me about the original movie to a certain extent.
Well, to be fair, that's something that happens with a lot of these movies.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but I don't know.
I mean,
Uh,
as somebody put it, as some like one of the directors pointed out, it's not common for the main like all the songs to be like done by the second act.
no, I hear you. I hear you.
But I would to add another song in here. It would actually, I mean, I know one song was cut technically, but like
Which
a
one was
duet, like another duet
that? Proud
between
of your
him and
boy.
yeah. But for what it did, is like they actually provided a lot of insight to Jasmine's character. Like, I kind of felt like it was a very necessary to her character. And I mean, I can't say I dislike it by any means by any means
I mean,
either.
if I had one gripe with it, I would say that they're kind of just trying to do the let it go thing again.
I mean, it does kind of seem award baity, if you ask me too.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I mean, that's kind of what Pasek and Paul do. I mean, they do write a lot of award baity songs, so
Oh
it's not.
no, for sure. I'm very familiar with their work. Yeah.
It's like let's see, La La Land, Dear Evan Hansen, all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, dear Evan Hansen. Ooh, I have a very hate relationship with that show.
Okay,
Anyways,
so it's something they're definitely familiar with, and I'd like to see them like do more work, like do more work on Disney stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, maybe like even do their own original stuff, kind of like they're like Lin Manuel Miranda's doing.
Ooh, I'd like to see him get their own like series, like a musical series on Disney. That'd be interesting. Or
Well,
maybe even they could do a decom.
I wouldn't limit them to that.
Well, I'm saying they could be the next Kenny Ortega. Like, don't you shit talk Kenny Ortega, my friend. That man
well,
is officially a Disney legend.
I'm not just talking Kenny Ortega.
But I'm just saying, like Kenny Ortega, kind of like that man really did. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm taking away your point. Anyways.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. I kind of got into that tangent, but I think they did it. I mean, they did a good job. I haven't heard the song that they cut yet, or even if they even recorded it.
Uh-huh.
But if they do more like this, I mean, I think their contract work with them, like they're working with Disney several more times.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know, but I think they should definitely showcase their talents here. I mean, they did new work for Arabian Nights,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
which we pointed out was actually really good. I mean, I don't know if they like wrote any of the new lyrics for like the changed lyrics for like "Friend Like Me" or Prince Ali or anything like that. Speaking of which, I would have liked to hear the reprise of Prince Ali. But
Yeah, I mean, that's just another thing that they cut from the finale, and it's just sort of a shame.
yeah, I mean that's like that's one of the things people remember the original Jafar for was like he stole the protagonist's song.
Right.
But again, like isn't me to cap it off, they did a great job in the music, as we said. Like one of the like this movie definitely nails the big budget musical aspects really well. Like Guy Ritchie put on a surprisingly good musical.
Hmm.
I mean, I'd kind of like to see more of him do more of that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, sorry, I'm done. I'm kind of
No, it's
rambling.
fine. Don't worry about it. You're good. Um, so Jacob, I think I'm actually going to forego pros and cons because I feel like throughout this conversation we've kind of like laid out what the pros and cons of this movie are pretty generally.
Any others you can really think about right now?
Honestly, not really. I think we kind of pretty much covered what is good and what is bad. You know, it's like on the good side, we have like good casting. The musical numbers are great. Uh,
Visual.
yeah, the visuals are good. Guy Ritchie's directing is pretty on point. Then on the bad side of things, we have the third act is definitely a letdown. Jafar isn't as bad as he looks in the trailers, but he's still not great. He's definitely kind of like the weak sauce of the cast. Um, but I mean, overall, I do think I have more pros than cons for this movie. I really do. I enjoyed myself quite a bit with it.
I mean, I will too. I mean, what I call this like call it complete wish fulfillment when it comes to the original movie. I can't say that it is, but I think it's still a great movie. It's still a good movie in its own right. That's like probably I agree with the whole 7.5 passing grade thing. I
Mhm.
mean, definitely an above average movie.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Definitely doesn't reach the heights of the original, but not everything needs to. I mean, not everything needs to be
Well, I mean,
exactly.
like I said, Jacob, at this point, the only thing that does is Pete's Dragon.
And like I said, and unless I said, I'm not gonna deny that.
I
That's one that's
mean, it's like you know what I do think they have the potential for is if they remake Tron. Like
yeah,
I'm not saying a Tron 3. I'm saying a remake of Tron.
yeah.
That has the potential to be way better than the original.
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna deny you that.
All right. So any first of all, any comments in the chat, Jacob?
Well, I mean, Donovan Martin agrees. Donovan Martin and Nerd Thanos agree with you that it was better than Dumbo.
Oh, it's way better than Dumbo. This movie kicks the shit out of Dumbo. Don't even get me started.
They both.
I actually enjoyed watching this one. Dumbo was a chore.
Was like Donovan's like he was like tapping and singing to the beat of I think it was A Friend Like Me.
Uh-huh.
Like they're
Right.
basically they're talking about like Nerd Thanos says, "Can Arabian Nights count as an original song?" Like I'd say no, but it's more like a reinterpretation of the
Yeah, I
original.
would definitely say no.
I mean,
Yeah.
because it follows basically the same melody and lyrical structure,
Yeah, exactly.
just with different lyrics. I mean, pretty much technically the only new song is technically Speechless.
Uh-huh. I mean, that'd be like calling the Christopher Walken version of I Want to Be Like You an original song.
Well, I mean, pretty much the only thing. Well, it has a new verse, which is pretty much the only that one has a new verse, which is
Uh-huh.
which is kind of different.
Anyways. All
But
right,
yeah,
final thoughts, Jacob?
again, I mean, I pretty much just summarized it, but like it's definitely above average. I mean, like I said, it's definitely in the top tier of the remakes. I mean, the way the original movie was, it kind of lends itself to a live action remake better than a lot of the others do.
Yeah, for sure.
And as Guy Ritchie was definitely a bold choice for this, but I think in the end he ultimately did pay off. Like I mean, he brought enough of his own visual touches, but in a subtle way, to where, like, it doesn't overtake the story. And I think, like I said, obviously the casting was great. Like Will Smith definitely like lives up to being a great genie. I mean, as you said, he's probably like one of the best parts of the movie. He's pretty much the emotional center of the movie in many ways.
Hmm.
Like I said, honestly, I can't. Honestly, I might be bold, but I can't say this movie would be as good if they didn't have someone like him. I mean, they might have, but it's hard to imagine someone without him now. I mean, you definitely can't say they're the same genie. I mean, they're pretty much two separate characters now.
Yeah.
But oh no, like I said, as being an adaptation of one of my childhood favorite movies, I definitely say this wouldn't disappoint. I mean, there's some areas where it did, but as a whole, this definitely gets a thumbs up from me.
All right. Oh, God. Yeah, like I keep repeating, man, I went into this one with very trepid expectations. I did hear online, I kept seeing like, hey, it looks like Aladdin's not as bad as people were making it out to be. And that kind of got me a little hopeful. I feel like there's some people out there, like Doug Walker, for example, where essentially it's like, and not to call him out, but Blue Dragon 5, where just the mere idea of it being a remake and existing at all is enough to get him to be like, oh, it's a bad movie and it shouldn't exist. But really, at the end of the day, it's like, I had fun with it. You had fun with it. It's,
And at
you
the end,
know,
and in the end, that's what some movies should be. Just fun, just a fun time.
yeah, I mean, it's not Yates by any means, but I think it certainly is one of the better, like, even outside of the remakes, Jacob, I honestly think it's just generally speaking, like, I mean, outside of like Marvel and Star Wars of stuff, of course, like, in terms of like a Walt Disney Productions live action movie, it's one of the better ones of the last 10 years or so, like, in or outside of the live action remake brand. Like, I think this is way better than most of the Pirates movies outside of the first two.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, I hope they bring that Guy Ritchie in for more stuff. Like, I mean,
I honestly would like to see Guy Ritchie direct a Pirates movie. That's what I want. I want to see Guy Ritchie on the Pirates reboot.
I mean, and like I said, I was actually thinking the same thing earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, or just give him the keys to his own original work.
Hmm. Now, remind me, who's doing Jungle Book?
That John Favreau did.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean Jungle Book. I mean Jungle Cruise
Uh,
with Dwayne Johnson and oh shoot,
I honestly,
Emily
don't-
Blunt.
I honestly don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, because I know that's a thing. I've seen like production pictures and stuff for that.
I know it's not.
Happening.
I think it's a Spanish or Brazilian director.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know who it is.
Hmm. Anyways. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, especially Donovan and Nerd Thanos in the comments. Really appreciate you guys joining us live. Dragon and I will be back with our movie memoirs sometime early next week. And there's also going to be, well, not early next week, actually. That's probably going to be like later, probably towards the end of next week. But I digress. There's going to be a debate, a live action Disney debate that Jacob, you in all likelihood, will be competing in. Let's see. We got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. Barry season 2. Dragon and I are going to be breaking down every episode of that tomorrow night. We've got the Joshua Thomas-a-thon starting on the Just Giggle It grab bag. A lot of cool stuff. So,
Sure.
all right. So, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you again real soon.
I never had a friend like me.
You idiots! We've all got swords!